1.6. Subtracting integers. In this lesson, we'll learn how to subtract integers. To subtract an integer, you simply add its opposite. So if I get 3 minus 7, all I have to change is the subtraction sign into an addition sign. And change 7 to negative 7. So this just means add the opposite of 7, which is negative 7. And again, 3 plus negative 7 will give you negative 4. So algebraically, if you get A subtract B, you can rewrite it as A plus minus B. So here we have some practice problems. Part A. Find the difference. Difference is just another way of saying subtraction. 1 minus 8. We could rewrite that as 1 plus minus 8. And we could take the difference, which is 7, and we use the sign with the greater absolute value, negative 7. The same thing goes with this one, negative 10 minus 6, negative 10 plus negative 6. Same sign, negative 16. So if we can see that this is negative 10, this is negative 6, which is negative 16. That would be a quicker way. And here we have negative 5 subtract negative 17. When you have this, you'll notice that there's an invisible 1 here. So negative 5, negative negative makes positive 17. Negative 5 plus 17 gives you 12. Part B, find the value of the expression. You notice that they all have negative signs. So you can just add them all up. I'm going to first take the sum of negative 15 and negative 75. Maybe negative 80. Copy the negative 100. And the negative 180. Okay, and part C, evaluate the expression when x equals negative 5, y equals 14, and z equals negative 7. So we need to do some substitution again. Negative 3 subtract y is 14. And then x is negative 5. Okay, if you notice that you have negative negative here, so you have to make this positive. So negative 3 minus 14 is negative 17. Negative 17 plus 5 would give you negative 12. Okay, here we have z equals negative 7, y equals 14, and x equals negative 5. So again, this is positive. Negative 7 minus 14 gives you negative 21 plus 5. Okay. Negative 16. Okay, another type of problem that involves subtracting integers is finding the change in temperature or elevation, which means height. So from negative 15 degrees Celsius to 10 degrees Celsius, if you were to find a change in temperature, we take 10 degrees Celsius, the final temperature, and subtract that from the beginning temperature. Okay, notice how I have two negative signs here, so negative negative makes positive, and that will be 25 degrees Celsius. And let's take a look at a problem that involves elevation from negative 120 feet to negative 90 feet. Then we take the final height and we subtract that from the initial height, the beginning height. So negative 90 plus 120, that will give you positive 30 feet. Part E. If A is a negative integer, so we could represent that by A less than 0, and B is a positive integer, B greater than 0, tell whether the expression represents a positive or negative integer. Explain. So you know that when you subtract two integers, you can rewrite that as A plus negative B. Okay? So we know that A is negative. And we know that the B here alone is positive. But because of this negative sign here, it makes negative B a negative integer. So we have negative plus another negative integer, and that would give us a final result of negative. Let's take a look at some word problems. Temperatures. The most extreme temperature change in Canadian history occurred when the temperature in Pincher Creek, Alberta, rose from negative 19 degrees Celsius to 22 degrees Celsius in 1 hour. Find the change in temperature. Okay, simply you take 22 degrees Celsius and you subtract that from negative 19 degrees Celsius. Remember, you always have to take the final temperature and subtract it from the initial temperature. So 22 plus 19, 41 degrees Celsius. The top of a cliff overlooking the ocean is 1,250 feet above sea level. So you can draw a picture here. So this will be sea level. So 1,250 feet. The seafloor at the foot of the cliff is 40 feet below sea level. So you have a cliff, okay, and then negative 40 feet below sea level. A rock falls off the cliff and drops to the seafloor. And this is the seafloor. Write an expression that represents the change in elevation of the rock. So the rock already dropped 1,250 feet. So we need to represent that by negative 1,250. Okay, so we take negative 1,250 and we subtract 40 to get negative 1,290 feet below sea level. This would be your expression, and if you were to solve the problem, this would be the answer. The word problem did not ask you to solve the problem, but that's okay. And that concludes the lesson.